All right, everybody. So let's just start with the question. So it says, for each part below, use the figure to fill in the blank. If necessary, you may learn what the markings of the figure indicate, which we'll talk about. And then it says, find measure of angle X, which is right here. And then it says measure of angle V, which is right there. So I know a lot of you guys are like, I've never learned this a day in my life. I don't understand. As I've said before, when you're looking at questions, you need to think about everything that you know about math. All the rules of math apply in every single thing you do. So let's just start with the basics. Quick reminder. So an isosceles triangle, okay, has two equal sides. So taking you back to elementary school, they say I, right? These two, top and the bottom, means two sides, right? And then equilateral means equal, meaning all sides are equal. If you needed that, that was for you. Anyway, so if it says two equal sides, or all sides are equal, that also applies to the angles. I'm going to say that again. So if it says something about what the sides are equal to, and it applies to the angles as well. All right. So I'm going to explain what that means. So let's start with the isosceles. It says two equal sides. Now, these little things right here, these little notches, these are called tick marks. Okay. You'll see, most of the time you'll see them in 1. Sometimes you'll see them in 2, and sometimes you'll see them in 3. What that means is that if there's 1 here and 1 here, as it is in this little thing right here, that means that these two sides are the same. Okay, so if you see the same notch on both sides, you would say they are the same. So just gonna look at this one real quick. So I know that this is an equilateral triangle because all of these sides are the same, because it tells me the lengths, right? So with that tick mark thing, if I wanted to put a tick mark, like example, it didn't have to tell you it was 12. It could just say tick, 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 those 2, 3 marks, and say they are the same. They are equal. It doesn't matter what the length is. Just know that they are equal. Okay, so that's what that means. It would be the same as 2 or 3. You're not really going to see 2 or 3 unless there's a 1. Don't worry about it. It'll make sense later. Anyway, so when you're looking at these questions, it's telling you that these two sides are the same. Okay, now, when you says those two sides are the same, I want you to know that means that two angles in this triangle are also the same. Okay, when it comes to the isosceles triangle, so I'm going to draw it straight here. Those two lines would be the same. That would also mean that this one and this one would be the same, and then this one would be different. So you know how you guys see, you'll see with the angles, they'll put the thing in the angle and say, oh, that one, or it'll be 2 or 3, sort of like with the tick marks. This applies here as well. So let me just erase that for you. Anyway, so because this side and this side are the same, this angle and this angle are the same. Now, it tells you what this one equals, and that's 50. So if this is 50, that's also 50. Okay. I know someone's saying, Miss Evans, that doesn't help me. I need to find X. It actually does. So remember, all angles and a triangle added together equals 180, right? So if I have two 50s, 50 plus 50 equals 100, which means if I subtracted it from the how many all together, the last one has to equal 80. Or you can just do the mental math and just say, well, you know, you can figure that out. So if you're one of those people, I know, I'm sorry, I have to explain everything, but you'll be fine. So this little angle over here equals 80. All right. And I know that because I know that these two angles, these two sides are the same, which means these two angles are the same, which means that I can find the third if I know the first two. Okay, so measure M, a lot of people say less than X. Measure of angle X is 80 degrees. All right. Now, to the other one. We already talked about how these three are the same, right? So, like I said before, an equilateral triangle means that all sides are equal. It also applies to the angle. So if all sides are equal, I can go in and say, okay, all angles are equal. So this is the same, that's the same, that's the same. Now I know someone is in the corner yelling at me because they say, well, it still doesn't tell me any degrees of what any of them are. So how am I supposed to figure it out? Again, I have an answer for you. So all angles in a triangle equals 180 degrees. So if all of these are the same, I'm going to say x plus x plus x, which is 3x, equals 180, right? Divide by that by 3 to find what x is, and x equals 60. Okay? So, because they're all the same, all I have to do is say 180 divided by 3. Well, I know all of them added together is 180. 180 divided by 3 is 60. So this is 60, that's 60, and that's 60. So measure of angle V is 60 degrees. There's a lot of different ways to think about the logic behind it. But, I mean, whatever way works for you, go with it, run with it. So that's all you really need to know. As long as you remember that isosceles, two equal sides, two equal angles, and as long as you remember which ones those are, you got it. Okay? Same thing with equilateral. And honestly, whenever you have an equilateral triangle, you really don't even need to do the math because the 180 isn't changing. So if it says, oh, you have an equilateral triangle, what is the angle? What is the measure of one of the angles? 60. Done. You don't have to worry about it because that is not going to change. This is subject to change. This is not. Okay, so when you have an equilateral triangle and it asks you what is the angle measure, it's always 60. I'm just providing the reasoning to you. This one is, you're going to have to do the math on it because it's going to change. Yeah, so I think that's all you need to know. If you guys have any more questions, just let me know and I will help you out. Good luck, guys.